Hey guys, it's Linda Winter. I want to talk about towel toppers, and I'm going to show you, I think it's my favorite, the Tab Top towel topper. This is my no-slip template. I'll show you how to cut in just a few minutes, but I want to show you some other options too. So this guy here makes a style like this. Towel topper that goes over the oven, the refrigerator door, if you have anything in front of your sink. I have a lot of people tell me I have something in front of my sink. Well, that's nice. I wish I had that. But these towels are great to keep around. They're great gifts to give. They're great gifts to sell. And then they're perfect and practical for your own kitchen too. You can have a lot of fun with the type of towel, with the fabrics. There are two coordinating fabrics, so we'll talk about picking out your fabrics and choosing. It's the one way to audition and really show off your fabrics. But you can see I've got several different styles, and even where we place the tab makes all the difference too. This one was the first one that I made, and I had so much fun. I love Halloween. Okay, so this is the towel topper. I want to show you a few others that I have come out with as well. This is the little dress. This one goes back to way back when in the olden days, but those to me looked a little more handmade and homemade, and I love that this is a nice finished top instead of a raw edge where you're adding lace and those kinds of things, and that's made from this template. I've changed the template a little bit so the curve that's here is a little more gradual, so you don't have to use a 28mm cutter as much along with scissors. So you'll be able to use just the cutter too. So this is the towel topper template. That's the dress. So it makes that. We'll get that out of the way. I haven't filmed the video on that, but that is coming. Then there's the apple core. The apple core, you know, it's an apple core. It's an apple core. So you can see here the apple core there, but I added a back fabric that's different than the front because I wanted to be able to fussy cut. And what I did on this one too was I made it a little bit larger. So if you had a thicker towel, it's a little bit easier to deal with. But because I want to center things like this, I have a fussy cut frame coming too. I can't wait to show you that. So there's going to be a video on that one as well. That's a more traditional towel topper. This is one I've filmed, and I love this one because it's super fast and easy. In the video, I'm showing you a whole bunch of other stuff, but it really is fast, fast, fast. Easy, easy, easy. So you've got the towel curve here, and you've got the curve here, and it's a gradual curve, so it's really simple to do. So this one, play with your towels, play with your fabrics, and you can use coordinating fabric if you want, or the same fabric here. My friend Beth, my friend Shirley, they were the ones that kind of got me down this path. And hey, once you go down this path, it's kind of hard to go back. So we're going to look at cutting our towel first. I spent some time, if you go watch the one that's on the Mask Keeper, that's the last one that I showed you. If you go watch the Mask Keeper, this template here, it's a Mask Keeper zipper case too, so you get more bang for your buck. I showed you a little bit more on how to cut and how to fold your towel, but I wanted to show you this because there are towels that are different out there. This towel, you can see I've got a very busy towel. Normally with towels, they have in one direction, and when you flip it over, in the opposite direction. But do you see how this is basically one big piece of fabric in quotes. So this one here, if I cut this down the middle, I need to serge that edge or turn it under. So you want to think about what you want to do with this one. If you're going to use two to make two towels, or if you're going to use the real estate from here to fussy cut one of these little guys, and you could even do him, imagine on the opposite. So this would be the front of a whatever towel. Gather like that. And then you have this little guy who's auditioned right here. This guy here, he's going to be right in here. And that goes on the back side. So you can really show him off. So when you've got a towel like this, take advantage of it. It's one extra step that I would have to do. Cutting in half here, I'd have to serge this edge or turn that edge under. Instead, I'm going to use the top of it to go inside a towel. And then I'll use this as material for the towel topper itself. And this one would be a really great one too for the mask keeper. So the mask keeper goes this way. Imagine that little guy being right in the center too. So just wanted to point out to you. So watch my other video. We're basically going to be folding in half. Imagine a regular towel, and I don't like terry towels that are bath towels because they're just too thick. You see how when I place that fold here, I'm basically putting that ruler down and I can cut that, and then this would be the bottom half. This is the material that it's not so much for a towel for drying as a towel for cleaning. So if you're dusting, this kind of stuff is really great for dusting. So this doesn't have to be just for wiping your hands and drying your hands, but use these for cleaners too. So, you know, you can have these hanging all over the house for cleaning and things like that. All right, let's get this guy out of the way. All right, so I want to show you how to cut the fabric, and I'm going to show you a cheater method because this right here has a curve, and it has a curve, and those curves are pretty good, pretty gradual, and you know, pretty steep, I should say. And so we really need to use the 28mm rotary cutter. I love the 28mm partly because it's left-handed, but it just does a better job too. So we're going to use this. Notice what I'm doing here though. I've got this fabric and I've got this fabric. I'm going to stop and I'm going to get rid of this fabric. I like to put a fusible on one of these, and I like SF101, and then I don't put a fusible on the other. Which one do I like the fusible in? The one that's going to fold down on the top. This right here, so the polka dot is where I add the fusible. Why? I want this to be a little bit stiffer. You can see over here, maybe you can't see, but I can feel. I added SF101 and I added SF101. It just gives it a little more substance. So if you're going to be making these and selling them, that's not a bad thing to do. SF101, that's what I've ironed on here. Just cut yourself a piece that is bigger than the template, and then iron that fusible on, and then cut yourself another piece, your coordinating fabric, and then iron the fusible on. Cut a rectangle like this first, okay? So I want to show you though for the button. We're going to look at, do I want it here? Do I want it here? Do I want it here? Okay, that comes later, but really the big question is, or do I want it here? Because once we start sewing, putting the towel in, do I like this look? Let's pull over this one here. Do I like this look? Let's go this away. We're going to pretend that I don't have those pins there. Do I like this right here, or do I like the other side? This, basically like I have it here. Okay, so you've got options here. So we'll talk about that, but let's talk cutting first. All right, let's get that out of the way. So I said go ahead and cut yourself one of these. We're going to put that aside. This one I rough cut. I'm going to place this down. And I don't have a fusible on here, but again, take my advice and go ahead and put a fusible. You can use the 45mm, but it's only going to go so far when you're doing what you need to do here. This 28mm, I'm going to pull this back, and I've got enough fabric to go all the way around. So we're going to cut here. I turn my template. Remember the no-slip material that's on the back, that's grabbing, so I'm not having to print out a paper template and hope and pray that this curve is going to be the same as this, that this is going to be the same as this, that this is going to be the same as this, and that my first towel is going to look like my 10th towel, especially if you're making these and selling them. Okay, so what do we want to do? I've cut right here. And I think it's time for a new blade. I'm going to go ahead and cut. Now, when I cut here, I'm just taking my time, and I'm not so concerned about being exact. Can you see right there? Yep, definitely time for a new blade. All right, now I'm going to turn my template a little bit as I go. And I'm going to turn. I'm cutting one layer. Now I can cut the fusible SF101 on here too, but I'm only cutting one layer. I didn't cut this one. I'm not gonna cut this one. You'll see in a minute what I mean. All right, so when I get over here, I'm gonna go this away here to get that started, and I've cut some here. I'm just gonna take my time and cut. This is a 28mm rotary cutter, and it's still gonna struggle a little bit to get in there. If you don't like doing that, you can grab a pen. You can grab a marker. You can grab And by pen or marker, I mean invisible marker, one that's going to wash away later on or iron out. You can do that and just draw and then grab your precision scissors or any small sharp scissors and just cut that out. Okay, so we are close enough here. You can see there's a little bit of fabric there that I'm going to go ahead and cut. And let me cut out from the side rather than in front of me. All right, if you do end up cutting any of the template, a nail file, a good nail file will just file that down. All right, what am I going to do? I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to line those up together, and now I've got a sewing guide. I only need to cut one. I don't need to cut two. And you can notice here, I didn't cut exactly. Guess what? I got a seam allowance. It doesn't matter. So we're going to place my pins here rather than clips. I've got pins here because I don't have an edge on here. So I can't use an edge joining foot on this. And I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew. I'm not going to cut around this. I've already done cutting on one. I don't need to cut both. It just saves time, effort, and I've got a stitch line. It's basically a coloring book page outline for me. Now what I do want to do down at the bottom though, I do want to take my ruler and I am going to cut. Notice what I'm doing. I've got pins down here, so I'm lifting this up a little bit. I'm lining it up to that edge. Why? Because I want to do something to help me out later on. All right, and as I said, it's time for a new blade. I don't think I've ever changed my blade in this rotary cutter. So, all right, what are we going to do here? I'm going to press here. Now, I can go to the iron. I've got it close by, but I'm going to take one of my new favorite tools. All I'm doing is giving me a rough start to my finished edge because I need the front and the back to line up consistently. When you watch a lot of the videos on how to make towel toppers, they'll tell you put a pin in the front layer and make sure that it goes to the same spot in the back and that they're even and consistent. I'm like, forget it. I'm just doing this. I'm just lining this up with this, and that gives me a starting point, okay? You could stitch this down this way, but then I'm going to have threads possibly here that might show, and I don't really want that. I want a nice finished edge here that's tucked inside. So I'm going to leave that there. What we're going to do is go to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch, we're going to stitch, we're going to stitch, we're going to stitch, and then we're going to pinking shear, and then I'm going to fold and we'll stick that inside. So we're at the sewing machine. Let's head on over. All right, let me put my regular foot on my sewing machine. I've got my zipper foot from my last project, so we'll take that off. I also have black thread on here, so white thread would really be a more important color or a more matching thread, depending on which one I'm going to choose on the front. Let's take a look at this one. You can see this guy here. I've got the white on the front. If I'm going to go this way rather than this way, if I'm going that way, and that's what we'll do, if I'm going that way, then I want to use black thread or red thread. But if I'm going this way, I want to use white thread, unless you like contrasting. And if you want contrasting, then go for it. All right, so we're going to go over to the sewing machine. Let me get my needle position where I want it. All right, and my stitch length about 2.8, somewhere around there is good. And I'm just going to go ahead and back stitch here because we are going to be using that later on to turn. Get rid of those pins. When I get right to about here, I'm going to leave that needle pivot a little bit and just come on around. Take your time with the curves. We'll be trimming these or pinking these or snipping those for those curves because we want it to look nice. I love that I only had to cut one piece, so this just makes the whole process faster and easier. And again, I'm always going to talk about assembly line cutting, assembly line sewing, assembly line pressing, whatever it is that you're doing, because it's just going to make it a whole lot faster, a whole lot easier. And let me get that set up a little bit. And it's time for a new needle in my sewing machine as well. And again, back stitch here. Okay, so pinking shears is what I'm going to use. You can snip, snip, snip. And all I'm doing now is cutting off all of this excess. All that I didn't have to cut with my rotary cutter from that first layer that can be my back or can be my front. Again, choose your thread. And on the project that I actually did do, I used black thread, I don't know, on the back side in the bobbin. And then I used white thread on the top. So if you do want to coordinate that, you can. I'm not sure if it was on that project or on another. Most of the time, I'm not always the best at changing out my threads to match. So you make the call. Again, if we're making these and giving them as nice gifts, then do it. If we're making these and selling these for sure, do it. Okay, so we've gone ahead and snipped, and we're going to press. Turning right sides out. Before I get to the iron, I like using, for a project like this, my pinking shears, at least to get this process started. And we're going to do, of course, the tab top. That's what this is. And I'm going to go around and just kind of take my time here. And don't poke too hard. When I get to the corner, the pinking shears are really a little bit too big to get in and do the corners well. So I'll grab something else, some other kind of tool. But this does work really well to kind of get that going, get that process started. This is where, if you're new to projects like this, if you're a quilter, then you know pressing is huge. If you haven't done much sewing or you're new to sewing at all, then pressing is, I tell you, the biggest thing that you can do to make your work look a whole lot better. I'm using my chalk pencil, which, it works okay. So I'm pushing that corner out, and I'm coming over here, and I'm pushing the corner out. Now, if you did the fusible SF101 on the front and on the back, then we would have everything kind of poofed up a little bit, but you can see how this is poofed up and this is curved up a little bit there. Perfect shot to be able to see that. So we definitely need to press this down. So we're going to head over here and take our time pressing, which I'm not really doing. And what I want you to think about is, do we want the doggies on the tab, or do we want the doggies on the base? Do we want the red on the tab? Do we want the red on the base? Think about it, but then audition. Auditioning makes all the difference. Okay, so I pressed, and remember when we did that little pressing before? Now I'm going to come back and we're going to press that again. I'm not going to spend a lot of time now because we are going to audition first. But let's just get it started so we can see. All right, so that'll give me that. All right, so I'm going to take my gather. We'll talk about folding in just a minute. I spent a lot more time on the mask keeper towel topper for folding, so you'll want to watch that. All right, you can see how this is a little bit big to fit inside of there, but that's okay, because what we want to do is look to see, do I like this here, gather for our puppies? Or do I want to go this way with the puppies and here? So you decide what it is you like. I've got black thread over there, so I really would, for my project, be doing it this way. You can see that. The other thing, too, is if we look at this, do you see my little doggy here? He's going that way, and this doggy's going that way, so it really doesn't matter so much. When I look here, I've got a doggy that's upside down, another doggy that's upside down, one that's sideways. So if you are caring about those things, then make sure you lay out your fabric. You decide what it is you want to do. Let me show you this one that I did over here, and you can see with this, look how high I put that tab. So when we look at this, this really auditions and shows off. It features that fabric. When I turn this over the other way, and that button's way up there, we're hardly featuring that fabric at all. So I'm going to go, instead of this way, I'm going to go with the red on here so you can see that. All right, so we're going to be placing this inside this way. If you watch my Mask Keeper template for the towel topper, I put this in backwards. Because I did a fabric on the front, a fabric on the back, here it's supposed to contrast. But for the Mask Keeper, make sure you lay out your towel in the right direction. We're going to spend time folding these guys here so that it fits inside. Let me show you this one over here. And you can see how this one, basically that would go edge to edge and that would fit perfectly. So I've got gnome for the holidays. Well, gnomes and doggies, I guess they kind of go together, but not so much. So this one I did with these fabrics. So you can see these guys over here. And you can see here, let's take a look and see, this is the stripe that's going here. Let's look at what we would have gotten. Imagine my gnomes for the holidays in here. Do you like that look? It's kind of the fun of this project. You know, and again, do I want it up here? Do I want it here? You choose a button. You can find a Christmas tree button, whatever it is. That's why I like this template so much. You have more play with playing around with your fabrics, but it's really, really fast too. Okay, so let's go back to this guy. So we're going to place this inside, and remember we still need to go back and press. I hope you can see that crease that's right there. That's an original crease that I did. So all I'm going to do is go fold that fabric over, and we did that at the very beginning, so it wasn't hard to do. If I was doing that now, it would be a little bit of a pain. It's just extra work that I don't want to do. So we're going to go ahead, and I'm just going to get closer to the edge, to that seam, I should say. And I'm going to fold. I'm going to, when I finish on this other side, I'm going to go into those edges. And I'm lining up my edges now. You can see these two edges. I'm lining those up so that I don't have an inconsistent seam on the front and on the back. I'm not missing any of the towel on the front or missing the towel on the back. That's more likely on the back side where people tend to miss it. If you look at towel toppers that other people have made, you know, the back is kind of a sign of whether it's done well or not. And for me, it's cheating. You know, have the little cheater tips that you can do. Did you see what I was doing there? I'm opening up the side. And I'm going inside here just to make those two seams come together nice and flat. All right, so we wanted to have the red up. And you can see those line up pretty consistently now. All right, let's see if this will tuck inside. Again, watch my other video where I show you how to fold and talk about the pleats and those kinds of things. But let's just really quick look. I've got one fold that's going in, one fold that's going in, and then it's folding over to the back, folding over to the back. See that over to the back there? Same kind of concept on this one too. But this isn't folding over to the back. This is a much smaller towel than this one is. So you've got to kind of play with your towel and see what it is that, you know, what it calls for too. This one you can see here, Lisa did this one for me the other day and I just love it. You know, this guy here, you can see there's a fold, a fold, a fold, a fold. So you play around with those and see what it is you like. This one here, really simple. It's just, let's see if we can get it here. Really simple, just a fold down the middle. And this is the edge of the towel, the edge of the towel. By the way, I have this as a kit. So if you don't want to buy this, or more importantly, you don't want to do the cutting, you can buy the kit. And the kit right here has the red with interfacing fusible, and this check with an interfacing fusible, because I like the two. And then a button, and then the towel. And there's nobody like you has 2 of the little gnomes on there. So you'll have towels to make 2, and then you can choose your own fabric. So you can buy the kit if you want to do that. Okay, let's see if this fits or if I need to readjust this a little bit. I'm tucking this inside, and I pinned it there, so I want to make sure that I don't stab myself enough that there's going to be blood because I've got a white towel. All right, so we're looking at the front, and this looks good here. But I want to flip this over to the back and make sure that this fold right there, see that edge? That it's inside enough. Because I did the pressing on the front, the pressing on the back first, before I even started sewing this, then I already knew that my front would give me my back. And then it's just a matter of sticking this in far enough up. All right, so let's talk about the towel itself. Do you see how far it is for that gather? How far away it is for that gather? Do you want all of that, or do you want to shorten your towel? Imagine that I cut some of this towel off. And do you see how you can make that shorter? So you decide how much of that towel hangs down. And guess what's going to help you decide? How high up your oven door handle is, because you may have towels dragging on the floor, and we don't want them dragging on the floor. So I'm going to go ahead and tuck that in. The other thing you can do too is you can line this up on your mat. I'm lining this up here, and look at my towel. See how crooked that is? So I'm going to make sure that my towel is lined up a little bit better there. And I do have this still way up inside of there. There's a whole lot of towel. So I'm going to pull that back a little bit. That changed that fold down at the bottom. So you can see that'll help me out with, and sometimes, by the way, remember towels, they're not done well. I'm looking at this. If I place this at the bottom of my gather, you can see there, here, and here. I don't have that lined up. I need to pull that side down a little bit. And now I can see that's pretty good. I'm looking here and I'm looking here on the mat. All right, hopefully that makes sense to you. All right, I've got pins inside, so I need to repin and remove those pins. Now, I'm going to be going this way, so let me just right now start pinning in the right direction so I don't have to worry about repinning when I get to the sewing machine. Okay, so we're looking at this line here on the mat. And I'm looking at this is pretty even here. Okay, so we are good to go. Let's grab a few more pins. And I'm going to leave these other pins in for a minute. Let's get this out. And because I pulled this towel in and out several times, this may have unfolded. So I probably would go back and press that one more time before I stuck that towel in. But let's flip it over. Do you see how far that needle or the pin is from the edge and how far this crooked pin is? We should look to see that's basically the same. And do you see how that is way up inside of there, so I don't have to worry about that at all. All right, we're going to go to the sewing machine. We're going to stitch along here. If I didn't do all the talking and all the extra stuff, we would have been done and on our way to the second or the third one even. Now, if you have that jump humper, I don't know what it's called, I can't remember, use it. It takes the bulk that we have here from your sewing machine, because we're going through, and you can hear my machine, it's definitely having some problems. I should have, in between filming, stopped and done a little bit of work on it. So we'll have a little bit of a mess on the back there. So if your machine is having some issues, take the time to clean it. I sewed a ton of projects last night and earlier today and the other day, and I have not changed my needle and I have not cleaned my machine. And it is definitely kind of responding, rebelling a little bit. All right, so I'm removing all those pins and I've got this right up to the edge here, so I don't have any of that gap. I am going to back tack right here because I am going in the right direction. And I'm going to turn this over to the other side. The other side here, not the back side. And I'm going to, see that nest that's there? So I would take the time to pick that nest out. That nest is going to keep this in here. I don't have to worry so much about all of that, but I would take the time to get rid of that nest. Are y'all like me and you don't do the maintenance that you should do on your machine, or are you the opposite of me and you're just great? I have a feeling I have lots of company. All right, so we're going to trim those threads. We have the red and black side on the front side. We still have not finished this little towel yet. We've got to figure out if we're going to do a button, if we're going to do Velcro, if we're going to do a snap. On these projects, I really like buttons. I just think it adds a lot. And see that nest that's there? Take the time to pick that nest out instead of sewing over it like me. I'll fix it up later on. Okay, so let's take a look. This guy here, there's my gather. Now I have to decide, do I want this way down here? Do I want this up here? Do I want this here? Do I want this here? Let's grab the other one and let's see where I put that other one. Look how much higher this is here. I wanted the doggies to be showcased. So I put this tab way up here. If I want the doggies to be showcased, do you see how I would put the tab way down? It's the same template, but you get a totally different look. Same fabric, but a totally different look. I like that look right there, so we would go ahead and put a little mark there for your button and use your buttonholer on your machine, and away you go. All right, guys, so this is the towel topper, the tab top towel topper. This can hang, again, on your door of your oven, your refrigerator, your whatever you have. If you have someplace in your studio, in your sewing room, if you have an area where you keep all your cleaning tools, again, this material here that does such a good job is one of those things that really makes all the difference. And again, when you choose this loop, you're deciding how much of this is hanging down. So you make that decision on that. So that loop, it's not just the fabric, but it's also how much is here. If I put right here, my button here, I've got all of that space for that to go. If I've got my button here, I don't have a whole lot of space, but there is enough space there. Let me show you. There is enough space for it to go. Let's see if you can see. Right there. Can you see how that'll go over? Whatever it is, your door, whatever it is there. So the idea of this, again, it's the fabric for me leads itself first. That's what's going to give me the decision. But then practicality. This has to work too. So go look at what you have in your kitchens to see what will work for you. All right, so towel topper, tab top. This is the tab top template, and that's what this template is. You can find it on my website, winterdesigns.com. Head to my website, click on Products and Templates. When you click on Products and Templates, you're going to see a list of all my stuff. There's a bunch of things on there. Instead of going page by page by page by page, that was Sylvester, by the way. She was in my little six-sided bag down at the bottom. Keep going. There she is. There's Sylvester. She didn't make an appearance today. I'll show you on my table in a second. After we go to the website, I'll show you a new basket that I have too. It's similar to that. It still has 6 sides, but it's instead of straight, it's curved. At the sort by, we're going to click on that and go to newest to oldest. When you click on newest to oldest, those are going to be all the latest things that I've added on there. There's all kinds of gnome stuff. There's just all kinds of new templates. I came out with 5 new templates, 5 or 6, I think, and I'm busy filming videos on all of them, so I can't wait to show you all of those. The other thing you can do too is at the very top, and if you're on your phone, it's going to be a little bit different than this, but you'll type in the word topper, because I have towel toppers. You can click on topper, type that in, and then you'll see towel topper, and then the second one is the one we're doing, the tab top towel topper. And when you click on that, you'll see just this one sample. This is the only one that I had when I added it to the website. I've got a bunch more samples that I'll be adding on there for you to see too. So I hope you enjoy this. Take advantage of the videos that I have where I'm showing you folding and placement and talking about towels and those kinds of things too. Because that second half of this towel right here is real estate. You can use this if you've got a Cricut or a Silhouette. You can print on here if you want, but this also for the mass keeper, wherever it is. Oh, it's on the floor down there. And Sylvester heard me calling because she's now rubbing on my legs down below. But you can use this for a lining of the project. A really good project to make with this. This is the wedge bottom. That wedge bottom, when I place this on here, do you see how this will give me this shape here? And that shape here for a lining, you can put this on the fold if you want to, but if it's a lining, I'm going to leave that seam allowance, but this becomes a lining. Why? Well, it's free. It's extra that came with a project that you've cut off, but it's also light. I like in projects to have something light. They get dirty faster, of course, but you're going to be able to see what it is that you've got inside there. So totally up to you, but it's might put it to good use. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great time and stay tuned to new projects. If you haven't followed me on my Facebook page, it's Winner Designs for Sewing and Quilting, or you can go to facebook.com/Linda Winner Designs. And then if you're on my YouTube channel right now, subscribe. Why do you want to subscribe? Because I'm filming a lot of videos. So you can go ahead and subscribe and you'll get notified of any new video that I post. I've got 200 plus videos out there for you. Sorry, it's a lot, but hopefully you'll find something that you like, because everything I do is get her done. Better be good, better be fast. Everything that I have template-wise has the no-slip backing, tan or gray. The gray is my new stuff, because it grabs even better. So everything you cut, accurate, consistent. Thanks, guys. Have a great time creating. Bye-bye.